You are talking to quite an extremely sick me right now, but I have nothing better to do, so I'm going to work on the Lotus. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jack the back of the... Wow, this... Okay, I'm getting distracted again because my brain isn't all the way there. It's less there than it usually is, but in this lighting right here, it's got like a pearlescent paint job and it looks really good. But anyway, I gotta put the back of this thing on ramp so I can disconnect the shifter linkage because I don't know if it's stuck on the transmission or if it's stuck at the shifter itself. Because it kind of moves side to side a little bit. So I have a feeling it's stuck at the transmission, but I have no idea. Looking for the best spot under here to jack it up from. And I'm thinking I'm going to try from this here, because the car doesn't weigh much, and that's where the transmission is mounted at the front, or not the front. I say that's the front because I'm thinking of this in terms of Citroën, where the transmission is in front of the engine, but it's flipped backwards, which means they must have done some crazy stuff to get this to work with the diff, because normally I think you'd have 4 reverse gears and 1 forward gear. I actually have to look into that. But I think I'm going to jack it up with that and throw ramps underneath so I can see what's going on. So we are under the Europa, and this has to be my shift linkage. I can't find anything else that would relate to that, and this seems like it moves in and out here, so let me try to disconnect that and see what happens. And just something I'd like to note here before I actually disconnect this. So, the engine and transmission are French, the rest of the car is English. So I'm assuming this is an absolute torture mess of standard, metric, and Whitworth bolts. And what is going on with that drain plug? Is it even in there? There is no drain plug in there. Okay, I need a drain plug for one of these before I do anything else. But regardless, I do need to get this freed up so I have less things to do. I got the bolt out, and the transmission, let me get back under here. It appears to be stuck. But I don't know if it's the transmission that's stuck or if it is just the shifter that's stuck, because the transmission could just be tight, you know, they can be like that. So let me move the shifter around. Oh! Okay, so the shifter moves around again. So what I want to do is I want to shove a camera under the back to see exactly what the transmission linkage is doing, to see if the transmission linkage is locked up or if the shifter is just locked up and this is just moving the linkage around with it, like that sheath around the linkage, it was just moving that, or if it's the transmission. Alright, let me set the camera up so the end of the linkage is in frame. Come on. Come on. Come on. Camera's annoying. There we go. That should work. I just need it to work for a few seconds. Alright, so just judging by that, it appears that my transmission is the issue. So, we're going to pull the cover off the transmission, because I'm assuming it's like a Citroën transmission. Actually, let me show you one of those. So this is a DS block with an SM 5-speed transmission on it, but the SM transmission and the DS transmission are the same. That's a DS 4-speed. I think even a Citromatic's the same, but I don't... Nah, Citromatic's different, because it's a different design. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. You see, this top cover, the whole thing, that's where the shifter assembly goes, and it moves the gear selectors in and about. And I'm assuming they're just stuck with rust and stuff. It should be no big deal if I can get the cover off, so let's go back out to the Lotus and see if we can do that. This is going to require me to take out this box, the storage compartment, with the fancy schmancy Lotus engine tag. But I gotta take that out, and while I'm at it, because that's out, I won't have my lawnmower hood prop anymore, so I gotta take the hood completely off, which is pretty easy. It is these 2 clips, or yeah, it's those 2 clips there. So let's just take those out. Now we have much better access. Honestly, I should have done this to begin with, but I didn't know. So I am gonna see, it looks like the top cover doesn't come off, but I can play around with this to see what's going on. It's probably just stuck in here Oh wait, there we go. So I'm gonna just try working it back and forth to see what happens. And I need a ton of this stuff. Where'd it go? There it is. I'm gonna need a ton of this stuff. Losing even more daylight here, but I think I figured out my problem. So, where are my vice grips? The shifter works fine, but you can see it's going into the gears. But the way that it's going in, this turns at quite an angle, and this doesn't. So I'm assuming this bearing here is stuck, and yeah, that's stuck. So I'm gonna soak that bearing down and try working that free with a screwdriver to see what happens. I just removed the part and brought it in the house, and I'm gonna show you what I'm doing. So the bearing is definitely stuck. It was way too stuck for the shifter to move, and I think it's just a little bit that counts. So I'm just spraying deep creep in it, grabbing a screwdriver of the closest size I can find, jamming it in here, and just moving it around. And then I spray more deep creep, and I continue this process for about 15 minutes. So it's time to put on Spotify and just keep doing this. Took shorter than I thought, but this is what we want right here. So let's put this back on and see if the shifter works. 9 p.m. The shifter linkage is together. The socket. Hello, dog. Hello, dog. Anyway, the shifter linkage is together. Let's see if it works. And if this works, I'm going to go to bed. If it doesn't work, then I'm still stuck dealing with this. Yes! Okay, let's go through the gears. All the way over. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's a slam on down. There's reverse. All right. First thing on the car fixed. That was amazing. That is the tightest gear linkage I have ever felt. It's got a pretty tiny, very short throw on it. All right, first thing's done. Now I gotta wait for the gasket kit to show up, and maybe this thing will run.